I'm Katie Kempner, and welcome to Perspectives here at the Ipsos Girls Lounge at the Cannes Lion Festival. Right now, I am thrilled to be talking to my good friend Sam DiGennaro, who is the founder and CEO of DiGennaro Communications. Welcome.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled that you stopped by.
I am too.
So I think we should just jump in. You know, years ago here at Cannes, I saw you walking. You had a wonderful job, head of corporate communications. I saw you walking in town, and you said, I have to tell you something. I'm going to start my own company. And I thought, wow, that's so gutsy to do that. So, what inside of you made you decide that you, in fact, were a truly entrepreneurial person and you were going to do that? I
think I had always had the entrepreneurial spirit and the risk-taking sort of sense inside of me. And I had just gotten to the point in my big corporate career and job where I felt like I could be building an organization that I'd be more excited to show up at every day than where I was. I was starting to feel like the bureaucracy and the sometimes slowness and politics at a bigger company were not for me. I had actually known that for quite a while, and that I wanted to just create a different type of an organization that had a much more boutique-y, entrepreneurial vibe where women would grow and be enriched and rise in their careers regardless of sort of what cards they had been dealt, because everybody had an opportunity to really grow.
Well, and you've been incredibly successful. I mean, it's amazing. How big is the firm now?
Thank you. We're 35 people, and yeah, we've got offices in New York and out west and partnerships all over the world. It's exciting. But you've been very successful too, my dear. So right back at you.
We've all taken slightly different paths, but it's amazing.
We've taken different paths, but you know what? Good women need to be sticking by good women and supporting each other and not competing with each other.
When I was first starting this show, I was thinking this is really more about working moms, because that's the big challenge if you have kids. And as I started doing this show and talking to different women, I realized that was actually a kind of narrow way to be thinking, because it is true that kids are a huge factor in terms of just being able to figure out your time, but there's so many other ones. And you're a fabulously single woman, and you don't have children, but you have this huge career, and I'm really curious how you find ways to balance your personal life, which everyone needs to have, with your drive to be building and your business.
I think there's an unfortunate preconception out there that to be successful in business, you shouldn't have kids, or you don't focus on women who are successful in business don't focus on their marriages as well. And it just so happens that I'm single, but I've seen so many women like you and like other friends of ours who are able to truly integrate it all. For me personally, how do I find balance? Part of it's about having sacred rituals in my life and not letting anything get in the way of them. So for example, when I'm in New York at home, not traveling, which I do a lot of, every Monday night I start off my night with a massage, with an acupuncture session, and I end the night on meditation. And that's I call it my Sammy D night. And it's a ritual that's just so sacred to me because it keeps me centered and calm as the work week unfolds, and it keeps me focused. I just never given up the things I love. I've got a lot of passions. I play competitive softball. I love culture and the arts and theater, and I just make sure that I make an effort to always buy myself tickets to the shows that are coming out or to get to my softball games. And I built a culture in the office that allows our people that same level of flexibility. I don't want them to think that the boss only is the one who's allowed to leave to make it out to a softball game. We need to get our work done, but if we've got to plug back in later and get it done later at night, that's okay. Go live the lives you've got to live and do what you've got to do.
Well, I'm really glad you said that because, you have great, I know a lot of your terrific employees, some of them are here with you today.
So lucky.
You're really, really lucky, and you have a lot of younger, all sorts of people, but you also have a core group of younger women that, really striving, working throughout their careers. I think it's amazing that you've been able to build this culture. What is it that you sort of tell them, or how has that come to be?
I think a lot of it comes down to the people we choose, and we have a pretty rigorous interview process that has everything from peer-to-peer interviews to group interviews over a meal to direct report interviews. And we really look for people who not only have a skill set, that's a non-negotiable, but who are the right cultural fits, the right chemical fits, chemistry, because that's so important in the service industry, and just have the same spirit. There are some core values of the spirit of employees we're looking for. They need to have that entrepreneurial, risk-taking sort of chop to them. They need to be original thinkers with intellectual curiosity. They need to be incredibly sort of buttoned up on one hand, but open-ended, big thinkers and stream of consciousness on the other, good balance of right and left brain. And we all contribute to sort of hand-picking whom we want to be on our team. And it's a great, great crew. And then the culture, it sort of pays it forward. In my first generation, or in my early years, 8 years ago of having the business, I personally mentored every single one of our employees and personally trained every single one of my employees. That's when we were 8 or 10 people. Now, 35 people later, it's sort of like that next generation of talent is paying it forward. All those people I personally invested in are now personally investing in the next level and the next generation, and it really becomes a pay it forward, let's figure out how we can help and how we can enrich each other sort of culture. And if you don't have that character, chances are you're not going to last long at DGC. You're at Crispin. What agency has a stronger, better culture than that? I'm sure.
It's an amazing place to work. It's an amazing place to work. You've built this terrific culture, but there are women that feel very threatened by being around other truly smart, even, beautiful, whatever they feel are some qualities that are threatening to them. And I always think that is such a mistake, because you really want to surround yourself with the smartest people you can be around. I learned that from Chuck Porter.
In some cases, it's so tough for women to succeed in business, in the world in general. So for us to not be supporting each other is truly unfortunate. I fully subscribe to the concept of surrounding yourself by the best and brightest, and by people who are better and brighter and smarter than you.
Because it holds you
up.
up.
You can learn. It truly does, and they keep your mind moving and keep you challenged. And that's not gender specific. That's men, that's women, that's everybody. But I truly do believe just focusing on being surrounded by different types of people, different types of thinking, but always making sure that they're really intelligent. My own philosophy, the people who do not embrace other women in particular, women who don't embrace other women in business or even in social settings, are leading from a place or operating from a place of fear.
Yes.
And that says more about their own insecurities. I believe in operating from an open heart, and leading with the heart, operating from a place of love. I'm one of those bosses who will give a person a hug, or if I've got an employee who's upset, the empathy in my heart wants to sort of take them and coddle them and nurture them. And I think that's a female and gendered characteristic that's really, I know I'm giving you a very basic example, but it's so important. It's a metaphor for this bigger picture issue of why aren't we as women taking each other and nurturing each other and embracing each other and showing more empathy toward each other, because that's just empathy makes the world a better place.
You bring up a really interesting point because as women, we are much more empathetic, and yet we're also told in a lot of places, don't be too emotional at work, don't cry, be a business person. And I think that there has to be a balance. You spend so much time with your work colleagues that there needs to be a balance where you use your emotion in a good way.
It is so unfortunate. I think corporate America has been engineered primarily by men, and it is a more male-engendered characteristic to bridle and control emotions. You've heard it, men aren't supposed to cry. More so now than ever, with a savvy lack of loyalty, and this is a broad generalization, but millennial group on the workforce, not being authentic. Inauthenticity gets sniffed through and poked holes at so easily. And if you are a person who cries easily, and you're in a situation where tears fall, let them flow. Who cares? As long as you're not literally taking it to an extreme. I don't believe you should be gratuitously dramatic on the job or exploit an emotional state of being to try to push an agenda. But if you cry, that's okay. I was telling a story to my team last night about a situation where a former client called me up and was nasty, spoke so arrogantly and so condescendingly to me, and I had never been spoken to like that before. And I held my composure and I held it, and I got off the phone, and I literally started palpitating and burst into unconsolable just tears because I felt so personally injured by this person. There's a reason he is a former client. Who needs to do business with that?
Yes.
None of it. Life is too short. But I was sitting in an open space around all my employees, and I started crying hysterically, and oh well, they saw me. They saw I was human. That wasn't an affect. That wasn't a made-up emotion. I personally think that's okay. Not everybody will agree with me.
So I just want to end, I like to ask all my guests, if there's one piece of advice that has helped guide you through your career that you could share with us today.
Always believe that you can learn and you can grow and you can spread your wings no matter what card you've been dealt. There are so many young girls whose spirits get quashed at a very young age because they're called bossy in the schoolyard or whatever it may be. But truly, this concept of learning and growth and enrichment, there are a lot of people who think in terms of hierarchies and totems. Like, I'm the boss, so I'm the one who can't learn from the people below me or can't learn from the competitors or whatever. Listen and observe and watch. You don't have to have all the answers. Take it in and take every little bit of info that comes your way from your peers, from your underlings, from your superiors, and from your friends and your colleagues as little bits of learning experiences, and you'll be a better person, I believe.
Sam, it was a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much.
I want to give you a hug.
You want to give me a hug?
Love.